Are young white men more likely to commit mass shootings? Certainly seems that way, right? At least anecdotally, and it's now being debated after the most recent mass murder of 9 people in a church in Charleston, South Carolina. Now, here is a man who is a friend of the show who understands the issues that go into these crimes better than most. His name is Dr. Michael Wellner, and he's one of America's top forensic psychiatrists. Always good to have you here, Doc, even under these pain circumstances. Is it something to be dismissed as coincidence, or is there something formulaic here in mass killing white deranged young man?
Well, it's hard for me, based on professional experience, to say that because I've worked on 3 separate cases of mass homicide or attempted mass homicide involving a black male. I've worked on a case involving an Asian male. So I do think that there are a lot of crimes in which black victims are not covered, where you see 4 or 5 black victims in a horrendous crime. I work on it. Nobody talks about it. So I think that some element of this is affected by what the media chooses to focus on. But I think this is a cultural crime. I don't think that it's a crime that isolates itself according to someone based on race or ethnicity, but it is an American culture crime. And I think that we are onto something when we say that young men are primarily the perpetrators, certainly males, and that's a cultural issue, and certainly an age group when broad community is targeted, as opposed to workplace mass shootings, which involve an older perpetrator.
So you don't think that there's anything to the fact that they're also white, other than media interest in those particular stories?
Well, look, I've worked on cases involving black mass shooters, so what do you do with those cases, especially because they're not outliers?
Numerically, how do they line up?
You had the Navy Yard shooter last year. Sure. You had Taylor in Pittsburgh. I had Patton in Tennessee, which was an attempted mass shooting that was stopped. So I think that if we really drilled down into all of the instances, that if there was a difference from the population, it would not equate with the amount of attention we give to Isla Vista and the amount of attention that we give to Adam Lanza. These cases have attracted a hyper-focus.
All right, so then you get into... All right, so that's who it is. Now it's, well, why did they do it? And very often we have this dilemma. Is this person just bad, or are they sick? What do you see as the balance here? This case seems a little bit more obvious. This person just seems to be a hate-filled individual. He may have been playing with Suboxone, but I don't think that it winds up screaming mental illness. How do you break the two down?
You really only are going to get answers from that, from a psychiatric examination that gets into the dimensions of paranoia and resentment and the dimensions of hopelessness, because those are the 2 most important emotionally relevant conditions. But here's a useful way to break this down. Mass homicides differ from other murders in that there's actually a lot of common qualities among mass killers. Some mass killers target the workplace, and workplace mass killers are their own type of group. Some mass killers will target the general community. And those individuals are their own type have their own qualities, many of which are, again, the young, male, socially alienated, sexually frustrated, unintegrated, dead-ender. But among those are people who pick an ideology and say, that's my issue, and they wrap themselves in that. The common denominator with the community and the ideologically motivated people is they want us talking about them. They are irrelevant. They want to be relevant. Some people say, I'll be relevant because I've killed so many people. Some people say, I'll be relevant because this issue will get people talking. And even if they're not talking about me, they are talking about me, whether it's Breivik in Norway or whether it's this person.
So that's why you're always cautioning, don't pay too much attention to who did it.
Oh, I think that I think we do public safety a disservice by getting overly immersed in this for 2 reasons. One, because the ideologically motivated mass shooter is copied by others who haven't done it yet. And they watch us talking about his pet issue and say, hey, I've got a beef, I've got a grievance, but more importantly, they have a yen to kill. This guy, like others whom I've worked on and studied, and this is where you come to learn it, they have a yen to kill. They identify their masculinity, and this is why young males are involved, with the idea that if you're destructive, you're the man. And if you're the person who's destructive, who has this ideology, thinking about what came up with your last guest. Well, you're the man because you're the one who does something. But the point is, if it would not be this ideology, it would be another ideology. The key here is white supremacist ideology. What's peculiar to white supremacist cases, and this is also from professional experience, when you drill down into these communities of people who are extremists, they know they don't have the numbers. They know they're vastly outnumbered in terms of the public consciousness. The only way that they can ever gain a foothold is if they trigger a race war. And so their writings and their rantings that get tapped into by somebody who was looking to tap into something to give himself his own mental justification because, again, he wanted to kill, taps into the idea, well, if I do something and people get stirred up, well, then these people will react, and then these people will react. No, no, you're not relevant. What's relevant? Somebody rose up and said, I forgive you. I forgive you. And that's the point. The victims are relevant. If the victims define the discussion, we take away the social incentive to any aspiring mass killer to say, you know what? You want to go out and kill a lot of people? Nobody will pay attention to you, and you may get the death penalty, which is why a death penalty is necessary, because it's a deterrent for some mass killers based on professional experience. You want to get the death penalty? You want to be in prison for the rest of your life? You want to be totally forgotten, except parenthetically, by people who pray and who are religious? You're not going to get attention. Your cause won't get attention. We will put the people who are victimized on a pedestal because they forgave and they were larger than life in death.
All good, strong points and needed very much right now. Doc, as always, appreciated. And Dr. Wellner is inviting you, the audience, and the general public to participate in a landmark research project. What do you think makes a crime depraved? Your opinions are wanted at depravitystandard.org.